We are back. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with the lovely and talented Andrea Kay and my good friend, Urban Miaris. We have our next guest today, Mr. Josh Wortman from GeneralForensics. Welcome.
Wow, hi. Thank you very much for having me. It's very special.
Yeah, great. Well, you have a different kind of business than what we're accustomed to, and it's intriguing to me because, especially, you know what? Let's talk about where your business came from. You came out of one of our incubators here in town, didn't you?
That is correct. Yes.
So good old Rory Moore and ComNexus EvoNexus.
That's correct. Yeah, we were in the EvoNexus incubator at 101 West Broadway for probably 18 months. They provided amazing, tremendous support, market credibility, and validation. Got a lot of additional traction.
The validation comes from the fact that you got in there, okay? Because not everybody gets into Rory's program, and I've seen some great stuff come out of there.
Thank you. That's right. Yeah, no, they have about a 10% acceptance rate. So we were very pleased and fortunate to be among that.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do. GeneralForensics is a very general name, so tell us about the product, the service that you do.
Thank you. No, it's good you pointed that out. So we're an analytics company, and we're right now mostly serving the automotive finance industry with data-driven risk management solutions and also marketing strategy solutions.
Right, but you don't really you support the industry, but you're really supporting the lending capacity of the industry, not necessarily the automotive dealers, correct?
That's correct. So the automotive ecosystem is quite complex, and there are many players involved. We support the lenders with technology to optimize their operation, control loss risk, mitigate loss risk, exposure to fraud. We can also help an auto lender identify strategies and geographies to grow their business in. What part of the country should you grow your business in? How can we can help you figure out what the best use of your limited resources are with your marketing budget to grow your lending business.
Interesting. So tell us how it works. What do you do for the lender?
Cool. So we're a data analytics company, and we are data scientists, and we swim in data. And the nice thing about data is when you have a lot of it, you can learn some really, really interesting patterns that aren't apparent by intuition. So one amazing capability we have, for example, our customer, the auto lender, they want to make good operational decisions that are profitable to them and control loss risk. So they want to choose good customers, but they also want to build partnerships with good dealerships who are going to send them good customers. Because ultimately, a customer wants a loan on a car, but they get that car at the dealership, so the dealership is the matchmaker between the lender and the customer. And so dealerships, for the most part, can be very upstanding, can be very good, high-quality businesses, but sometimes dealerships get hungry or greedy and might push the limits on acceptable business practice. And so when you have a lot of data, you can start to see some patterns emerge in certain dealerships where dealerships might fudge income data. They might manipulate employment documents. They might even make up customers that don't exist in order to get loans approved for unworthy applications. And so we detect those patterns in data and reveal that information to a lender and help protect them.
Is this all done in real time?
It's done as fast as we get updates from them regarding the new production of loan requests. So really, it's not a real time thing. It's about a once a month. We could do once a week, but that's really enough. We're not detecting risk in any one specific loan request. We're looking at the pattern of activity coming from a dealership over time to let the lender know, do we want to continue working with this dealership? And it can be, the answer could be no. The answer could be yes, this is a fantastic dealership. Let's expand the scope of business we do with them. Let's incentivize this dealership further so they can book more deals with us, so they don't go to the other bank down the street and give that bank the loan. We like this dealership. So it can be risk mitigation and also be growth in marketing.
This is fascinating
Yeah,
because it's so intelligence, right, Urban? You with your military background, it's like you guys are like the
Thank
CIA.
you. They're the NSA,
The
maybe.
NSA. Okay,
Yes,
well, I didn't want to
yes.
say that because
Yes.
people aren't necessarily pleased with that.
Right.
But I mean, really, you are like an intelligence agency that's kind of scoping things out and looking for chatter that
That's
can reveal patterns of nefarious behavior, though, right?
That's correct, yes. And so, I mean, that's how I see it as well. Thank you. And we've just created this really incredible capability, and it's fascinating that it works. Uh, we can, you know how Target knows someone's pregnant before they do?
Hmm.
Okay, that was a phenomenon that came out was in the
right.
social media about or in the popular press about Target being able to detect pregnancy before the family knew. We can detect if a dealership is going to cease to be operating, is going to go out of business 6 months ahead of it happening.
Wow.
Wow.
That's incredible.
How? You
How?
want to share that intel with us?
Sure. Well, without going into the details, and that's some of our secret sauce, is it's all buried in the data, and you can look at the patterns of loan requests a dealership is submitting to the lender, asking for a loan to be approved, and sometimes it just bears irregularities that wouldn't be seen in a normal, healthy operating business. And this being able to detect it is one thing, but the value is immense for a lender. Being able to detect 6 months in advance a dealership going out of business could be worth $200,000 plus of loss risk averted.
Right.
Because those loans are going to end up failed.
It failed because a dealership going out of business, what
Wow.
they're thinking about doing is clearing out their inventory, fire
Right.
selling.
I think this is amazing. The phenomena of how people use data. I remember
Hmm.
when I was up with Monos Accelerator up in LA, and they had a firm that had a software package that could detect from people's cell phone signals in the store what their buying patterns would be. It's just
Yeah.
crazy what's going on these days.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy yet really cool
Yeah.
Yeah.
all at the same time.
We're really lucky to live in this age where we have the computing power to
Hmm.
process this information, and what it really just takes is a background in mathematics and a little bit of acumen with computer programming, and mash those things together, and you can create some pretty powerful predictive systems.
And I actually kind of like it. Like if I'm online and I see an ad that pops up with a really cute outfit from Nordstrom because they kind of clued in that 6 months ago I was kind of to me it's like that's a good service
I
because
agree.
they're letting me know about
Right.
something that's come out now in the store that I might like. So I don't resent that patterns have been detected by me as a consumer.
Right. Yeah.
Not at all.
Right. I mean, I'm in agreement with you about that. It's a big trade-off. We live in this age where the information's available and it can be used against us, but can also be used for us. And so,
Right.
Mhm.
So now you have been dealing primarily in the automotive industry, but your process can be used in any lending environment. If you want to go down to Best Buy and whatever finance they do, you can put your stuff in there. I mean,
Barry,
wherever it is.
Barry, thank you for observing that
Yeah.
and pointing that out. And that's actually exactly right. We are ultimately vertical agnostic. We can serve the mortgage industry. Between a mortgage bank and the borrower, there's a loan broker, there's a real estate agent. These people are commission based. Just like a dealership, they get paid to originate a loan in the middle of the ecosystem between the borrower and the lender. In any ecosystem where there's a middleman, we in particular specialize in being able to provide value to protect the lender from undue risk, because those middlemen that are commission based are not really interested in the long term performance of that loan or that risk based product. And so they can put both the customer who's buying the product at risk because they can give them a car or a house they can't afford, i.e., think about the financial crisis. We would say that the financial crisis
You
could
know,
have.
that's interesting because I remember years ago I worked with a guy back in Maryland who had a software that could detect whether there was mistakes within the mortgage that the borrower could go back and get refunds back from the lender. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can be done with these kind of analytics that you're putting together.
That's correct, yeah. And it can be, and there's other ecosystems where it's emerging as well. Insurance claims as well is a
Hmm.
big space for us. Insurance adjusters getting into cahoots with their service providers, and lead gen on the internet. There's a big ecosystem on the internet called lead gen, where companies, websites specialize in just trying to get your attention to pass you through to a service provider, like to originate a Geico insurance policy.
Yeah.
And some of those lead gen companies make up people because Geico pays them for every person they send.
No.
Interesting.
They make them up, invent people.
That's
and
crazy.
we can detect those patterns because they bear a commonality that digresses from what you'd expect in a normal, healthy, functioning system.
Yeah. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KFSD AM 1450, a Bloomberg radio station, streaming live on the web at financialnewsandtalk.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD or find our page on our page on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here on the coast, Andrea Kay and Urban Miaris, and our guest is Mr. Josh Wortman from General Forensics. So before we start cutting down on time, you had a great story you started telling us before the show started. Why don't you do that? Give us that one.
Thanks. So we work in the world of data, and we're trying to get the computer to give us information, insight that tells us something about a part of our operation, like is this dealership worthy of doing business, or worthy of our business as a lender? Should we send them our loans to their customers? So we found a suspicious one for one of our large auto lender customers, and the risk manager was very concerned with with our conclusion. He said, no, this is fine. Don't data mine, he said. You're trying too hard, and you're trying to sell this too hard. I said, no, it is not reasonable statistically for this to happen where one dealership is always working with customers who always work for one employer, and that employer doesn't show up anywhere else. And there's a too tight of a collusion between the employer and the dealership. And so he said, I don't know. But he humored me a bit, and he put an analyst on it, and the analyst did some background work, and they discovered that the site of the employer behind the customers, they were basically the employer where they got their income from, didn't exist. It was not only did it not exist, it was an empty field.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So he got really excited, and I said, see, it's in the data.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big win where we validated the technology, and the analytics and the data-driven approach can tell things that your intuition would not alter.
Okay. So at this point, you must have lots of stats that you can show people in terms of your success rate and the amount of money that you've saved.
Yes, if we can get the customer in the room, we have some very compelling stats to convince them of the value of our capability. Getting the customer in the room is a hard part because they're spread out around the United States, and ultimately selling risk management technology is not very sexy, and no one wants to think about adding new systems and processes to cut costs because it kind of admits you're not doing things perfectly yet.
But the reality of this is, with all the fraud and all the deception that you cut out, your process saves them money. It doesn't cost them money. I can't imagine anything different than that.
Me neither, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked at the challenge. I thought this would be flying off the shelves. So what is flying off the shelves, what turns out to be really valuable, is the opposite side, the marketing solution. So rather than mitigate loss, we can also help you figure out how to grow. And that seems to be more interesting to them. That was fascinating to me. I was like, well, why would you let these big gaping holes of risk survive in your business? And I don't know the answer still yet, except but growth in marketing seems to be the big opportunity.
Well, we're starting to run short on time. Tell our listeners how they can find out more about General Forensics.
Thanks, Barry. We have a website where we talk about ourselves and our capabilities, and that is www.generalforensics.com, spelled as you'd expect. And our office phone number is 949-243-0987. And if you go to our website, you'll see a press release talking about some of our statistical findings and some of our data, some of the results of some data analysis, which could be anecdotally interesting. And I think that's probably the best. We also have a presence on LinkedIn that I think is more updated.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Well, I can tell you this, that I have a number of people that I want to introduce you to, so I'm going to do some follow-up for you, with you, and we're going to get together and see what we can do. I find your process fascinating.
Me too.
Yeah. And we're going to tell some people about it.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks.
So,
It's
great.
been a labor of love.
Yep.
Thanks,
great.
Josh.
Thanks for being with us.
Awesome.
Hey, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with homegrown San Diego business and the people that are working hard to make a difference in their community. Send us a tweet at CloseUpSD or just find us on Facebook and let us know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.